everyone, my name is Liz with Big Hairy Dog, and we're going to get started in just a moment here. I'm actually going to give just a few minutes. We have a bigger group today, so any stragglers, we're going to let them come on in. As we go through this webinar, the audience will be on mute. So if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to go ahead and use that raise your hand button, or you can type the question under the questions tab and let us know, and I can answer questions as we go through this webinar. Other than that, I'm going to put myself on a brief mute, and we're going to give, like I said, a few minutes for people to go ahead and come on in. Thank you. All right, and on my screen right now is our agenda for the day. All right. Thank you all for your patience. So we have quite a few people in already, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you have any questions as we're going through this webinar, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand, or you can post the question and I'll read that aloud so everyone knows we're on the same page. And if we do need any clarification, I will go ahead and go through and unmute whoever asked that question so we can go ahead and get a little bit more information. But moving forward, everyone is going to go ahead and be muted. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so everyone should be able to see my Retail Pro screen here. And like I said, today we're going to go through a point of sale. And so we're going to jump right into it and jump into our receipts. All right, apologize for the delay. We're team viewing, and my connection might be a little slow, but please bear with me. All right, so right in that home screen, there's a few things I'd like to go ahead and point out. If we take a look here at our receipt type, we can see a few different types. So we do currently have high security receipts and our regular receipts. So high security receipts, as you can see here, most of the time we keep them in our system preferences to be set as 0 to make them easily filterable. High security receipts will be generated anytime that a register is that a transaction is exited if there were items on that transaction. But you do have the option of turning off high security receipts. So if this isn't something that you normally see, it's not too different or anything like that. It's just another added layer of security that is an optional setting in V9. Other than that, we have return and regular receipts. There's a few ways to handle returns in V9. One of them is turning the entire receipt into a return receipt. In that case, you would not be able to sell additional merchandise on that particular transaction. Alternatively, you can use a regular receipt and use our negative quantity in order to go ahead and return that item. And in that case, you'd be able to continue to ring more sales on that transaction. So it's just a little tidbit on a few different receipt types. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and come on in. We're going to hit new, and this is how we enter a new transaction. Let's see. So it looks like I have my structured Z out at the moment. That means I do need to make sure to come over here and open my drawer. So V9 has the option of running both structured and unstructured. So a structured Z out, we would have to open and count our drawer at the start of the day and then close out at night. An unstructured Z out, you would have the option of opening and closing at the same time, and you can do that whenever best it suits your workflow. So if we go ahead and come over here to our register open close, I need to open my drawer. All right, whenever we open our drawer, it automatically knows what workstation and installation, so we don't have to make any changes there. And this should be corresponding to the current time. We're just going to go ahead and hit next. Here on our count, we have two ways of entering this information. We can either use the physical count of the bills or the total. Either way, it's going to go ahead and do that backwards calculation and give you the other amount. So let's just go ahead and get a little bit of money in our drawer so we can keep going. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and hit finish. And just like that, our drawer is open. So now we can go ahead and jump into our receipts. All right, from here, we can hit new. And currently, we have it set up to require that we select an associate. It is an optional requirement within Retail Pro V9, so not all of you will have something similar. All right, so I just jumped into my receipt details. Now we have the option of ringing a receipt with no customer, or we can go and enter our customer information here. We have the option of typing directly into this field, or we can use these three dots and enter the back door into our customer center. Right. All right, and here now we can go ahead and use our quick filter, and we can filter to a specific company, or if we happen to know their email, we can go ahead and use that as well. So we can just pull somebody, really anybody over here. By hitting that OK button, it's going to go ahead and pull them back onto that receipt for us. Perfect. So now we can go ahead and see their billing information, address, and email if we have it. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and come on down to our item box. And this lookup field is where we would normally scan our barcodes into the system. Alternatively, we can go ahead and use what is called a wildcard. So that's going to be the asterisk button. We hit enter. And this will go ahead and show you the list that's in your inventory. This is a wildcard, so this is going to be my entire inventory in a little box for me to see. Cancel that out. Alternatively, we can always just go into our choose edit items. And the nice thing about our choose edit items is that it does give us access to that quick filter again. So if ever you have those instances where maybe a tag fell off and we're not quite sure how much it is, but we know, roughly what it is, then we can go ahead and in our description 1 or 2, we can start filtering for that particular item. So let's just say we're going to go, it's a shirt. If we have maybe a vendor for it, then we can add that, and those will stack on each other to shorten our list even further. Right, guys. There we go. And so now that we are highlighted on an item, we can choose that OK, and it'll bring that single item back to our receipt. Alternatively, we have access to our doc quantity. So that's our document quantity, and we can enter a quantity here, and that's going to be pulled over to our receipt. So let's just say we got 4 of these guys here, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, and if anybody noticed that little pop-up, it's because I do currently have our promotion set up on this machine. So it is checking to see whether or not that is one of the items that qualifies for any of my promo pricing. Alternatively, we just go ahead and hit that down arrow button, and now we're going to come back to our lookup. And our wildcards work here as well. So we can also do something similar and filter for specific items or parts of a description within our lookup field using those asterisk buttons or asterisk keys. So let's go ahead and also add one of these. Again, just checking to see if that's an item that I have any promotions on. All right, and as you can see, when I click back onto any one of these items, these buttons become alive, and those are void or return items. So let's say this particular item was a misscan, and we don't actually need it anymore. We can just void that out. And there we go. And so this item has been voided. It is going to remain on our screen because we did not just remove the item. Removing the item will remove the line. Voiding the item will set that quantity to 0, and it will not print on the receipt. Now here we go. We have a little bit of a nice total going on here. So we're just going to tender this out. I'm going to do a basic cash. And here it's automatically preset to the exact amount. So let's say we're pretty close, but he gave us $635. And as soon as we enter that taken amount, it'll automatically calculate that change for us. It defaults to cash, but we do have that option of returning change as another form of tender. I'm going to hit OK. And there we go. We can see we have the taken and given columns filled out. And now we can go and print and update. We get that final pop-up reminding us to go ahead and give that person back their change. We're just going to close that. And here we can see we're automatically set to preview this, so we can check out what's going on our receipt. Again, they're all going to have those barcodes. Barcodes are going to be extremely valuable, especially if you're requiring receipts on returns. Let's see. Close that. All right, and here we go. It automatically started that new receipt for us, and we are requiring an associate be listed. Let's say the associate's time is Jeff. And we are ready to go ahead and start that next transaction. One more thing, if we have somebody coming in and they're a first timer here, they don't exist in our database, but they want to, we can always jump into that back door of our customer center and use the new button to create a new customer on the fly without having to leave our point of sale screen. And so here you would just enter whatever is required. A lot of the times that's going to be at least first and last name. Some people do require an email if you're going to also run them through some kind of loyalty program. Other than that, we're just going to cancel out. All right, and so I'm just going to hit OK. Be throwing us back onto that receipt screen. All right, so now we have our associate and our customer. So again, I'm going to go ahead and come on over here, just enter that shirt. So I have asterisk, shirt, asterisk, and show me anything that has the word shirt in its description too here. So let's pick this one. Perfect. And alternatively, we can go ahead and enter any comments. One thing to note is comments, if we add them to our receipt design, they can be printed on receipts. A lot of designs by default will print comments if they're typed in here or selected from a drop-down. There are things like our item notes here that we can go ahead and use to enter additional comments that we do not want printed on the receipt, but we do want saved on our digital copy of the receipt. I'm going to go ahead and tender this one. All right, perfect. And so for this one, I can go ahead and take it as a check. So if we're requiring check numbers, then we need to go ahead and make sure to fill that out. If you require routing or account information, it's not going to let you finish unless you go ahead and enter that. But we can go ahead and take this as is. And there we go. We can see now that check number is listed in the comment field, so we know what check number should be associated with this particular receipt. And again, we can go ahead and print an update. Or if we happen to have missed something, we wanted to come back to items, we can use our items button to come back, or just click the tab right here on the bottom. So again, I'm going to go ahead and print an update. All right. Trying to throw that on my screen. It might be taking a little bit. I'm actually just going to end it. I'm not going to save that. All right. There we go. I'm actually going to cancel that out. All right, and I'm going to jump back to our list view. Okay, and that does bring us to the next point in our agenda. I'm going to go ahead and run through a little bit of troubleshooting. So there are a few times where you get calls in and people are taking a look at their receipt screen and they're not seeing all of their receipts or not seeing a receipt from yesterday that they know should be in there. One thing that we always are going to tell you to do first is check your date range. And that can be found over here up on top at this blue bar. So you can see currently I'm defaulted month to date. And so if this was June 1st, if I came on here, might get a little bit of a heart attack realizing that I have absolutely no receipts in my database anymore. Then I remember to come check my date ranges, and I can go ahead and open that up really to anything. I can leave it as undefined, or a lot of people, what they decide to do is to set this to whatever the return policy is. So if your return policy is within 60 days, then we can go ahead and set that rolling date. So we can go ahead and set this to 60 days starting 59 days ago. So that would include today's receipts as well. Hit OK. And now all of the receipts listed are going to be receipts that are eligible for a return if they happen to not have their receipt with them. All right. Another thing that you want to go ahead and pay attention to are these receipt types. If for whatever reason it got switched to a different receipt type and you're getting a bunch of errors, that is something that we've seen happen that trips people up occasionally. We go ahead and just one more time, we're going to hit new. Set our associate to admin. I'm going to look for the shirt that we sold earlier. I think it was this guy. All right. Let's say they took this shirt home, they got it home, and they realized it was a little too snug, and they turned right around and we're going to return it. And so again, we're just going to go ahead and by default, we're going to be dropped down over here for that next line item. We're just going to arrow back up or click back on this line and hit return item. Now here's where we would scan that original receipt number. They were, for this particular gentleman, he didn't have it, um, but he did let us know that he bought it today, so we're going to search for it. Say okay. All right, perfect. And it actually we only had one sale today with that particular item. And so it found it and it listed that original associate. It listed the correct bill to customer. And so that was a really fast, streamlined process. Let's go ahead and come on over here just one more time. I'm going to pick the same item, select OK. All right, this time I'm going to go ahead and hit return. You see now that we have a bill to customer listed here, it pre-filters for us. But I'm actually going to remove all of this information. I'm going to go ahead and widen the net a little bit just so we can see a little bit more info. All right, so you see within that time, this is a box I wanted to go ahead and show us. We did have a receipt, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit show items. So this is the receipt. Looks like it might not be the same customer, so they wanted us to take a look at it and confirm whether or not this was the correct receipt. So if you have a client that doesn't have the receipt, but they know they came in last week, we can search for last week. Anytime that item was listed on a receipt, it'll be here. And using that show item buttons, if they did purchase another item with that particular item, and they can let us know, it'll help us wade through the waters and really help them and give them that A-class customer service. Alternatively, we can just come over here and hit no receipt, and that'll let the transaction run through either way. All right, but I'm actually going to remove this item. And here we go. This has been returned, or we are about to return this. I'm going to hit tender and hit cash. And we're just going to say we're going to give them exact. We can print an update. Close that. We got that receipt showing us that we actually gave a return today. Close that. We're not going to save it. All right. And one thing to point out that some people, it worries a few people. We go ahead and go back to that receipt. I'm going to cancel out of here. Occasionally, when we're doing returns, this tender screen will look a little bit like this. You'll see all of the available tender options instead of just the tender options that you give. This is because we are currently signed in as a system administrator, and this is controlled via permissions. So we give permission to return only with the tenders that we have set within system preferences. But as a system administrator, you do not have to adhere to those same permissions. So we have access to give a return in any way that we want. All right. Come back out here to our Retail Pro screen. We're going to take a look at our XZ out. So one thing to note, key difference between an X and a Z out is an X is going to be run at any time during the day. It's a little bit more of a checkup on how your sales are doing for the day or all your stores are doing for the day. You can run it completely open or for specific time frames, whereas a Z out is usually that closing report. It's going to go ahead and reconcile your drawer, and it's usually run just once every time that drawer is closed. So over here, we are in our X out. We are currently filtered for our receipt dates for today. I'm actually going to open this up just to give us a little bit more to look at. All right, perfect. We can actually remove our drawer. If there is a workstation or cashier information here, we want to make sure that we clear that unless we are strictly looking for only the sales completed by a specific cashier. All right, perfect. So we're just going to go and run this. All right, and I'm actually not going to save that filter settings. We do have the option to save it, and the next time we run it, it would default to that same filter. Perfect. And so we can go ahead and see that breakdown of departments, our sales, and our percentage of sales. So we can see our department one here is about 52% of our overall sales. Come on down here, we can see a little bit more of that breakdown. Further you go, it does look a little bit more like our Z out reports. So we can go ahead and see our total paid in, paid out, and our net. And over here we can see, and remember these counts are going to be for that date range that we ran our X out for. All right. We do have the option of printing this, or we can export this to Excel as well. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just come on back. All right. The other thing that we have access to over here is our flash sales. So again, with the same open date range, I'm going to jump into our flash sales. And this gives us a lot of really valuable graphs and ways to kind of put a little bit of a yardstick between your different departments, vendors, or even cashiers. If we come on down to our cashiers, you can see our sysadmin is extremely hardworking. Our 1280 is trying, but we need to go ahead and get them at the same level of as our sysadmin. And so over here, this is set to units. We can't set that to price. You know, with this, it is set to both units and price. You got to make sure you're clicking the right, or make sure the checkbox is in the right spot. You can go over to our departments. Again, these are also bar graphs right now, but we can set them to pie charts if that makes a little bit more sense to you. And then we have the key here on the side. All right, pause, jump back out. All right. So now in order to go ahead and see in order to actually run a Z out, we would have to close the drawer. We can always see a former Z out by jumping into our former Z out. You can see all the former Z outs listed here. You can see, and that's our current open drawer. So I'm actually going to come back, go into our Z out, register open close. And here we go. We're going to choose to close our drawer. And so this is automatically pulling this. It knows that this drawer is open, so there's not much we have to do here. We're just going to go ahead and hit next. And here's where we go and enter our currency count. Again, actually, let's go ahead and give a little bit more money. Not too much. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. All right. We have our non-currency list here. So based on our system preferences, we do have the option of setting it up that we can add our checks to our non-currency list, gift certificates, really anything that should be in your drawer that you want your associates to count or make sure it's verify that it is there. This is going to be where we can do that. So let's say we can also insert. Sorry about that. So we would have to go ahead and define that within our system preferences. I can take a moment to show you where we can add that. And now we're going to go ahead and hit next. And then we get this, the system will now reconcile. Do you wish to continue? We're going to hit yes. All right, and here we can see where we're over and where we're short. Next. Okay, we can have the option of opening the report here. For this, we usually want to make it a little bit bigger. A little bit more. All right, perfect. And you can see it's pretty similar to our X out report. We do have those multiple departments and what percentage of sales that was. So as you can see here, it looks like most everything that I picked was from our second department. So that was 100% of our sales today. We can see our sales and we can see our returns and our net here. We did return a pretty high ticket item. Over here, we can go ahead and see any pay-ins and payouts and receipt count. And our dollars here. Go ahead and exit. All right, in this case, we would just finish. And now we have access to that Z out in our former Z out. We're right here. All right. I'm going to open the drawer one more time because I realized I didn't get a chance to talk about our disbursements. I apologize for that. We're going a little out of order. Finish. All right. We're going to come on over here to our receipts. All right. Perfect. So our disbursements, you can see them over here on this side. For a disbursement is a way for you to tell Retail Pro what's coming in and out of the drawer, and that way you don't have to keep track of it. The disbursement types are going to be this cash drop, payout, pay in, miscellaneous, drawer open. And so the cash drop would be used in those situations where, maybe we have far too many 20s, we can't close the drawer right, we do need to go ahead and take a handful of them and put them in a safe in the back, or someone's going to run them to the bank. So we're going to go ahead and drop cash, and we need to let Retail Pro know, don't look for that cash when we're closing out at the end of the day. We're not actually short. We took it to the bank. Pay out is going to be if you do need to go ahead and pick up supplies, pick up lunch, pay a vendor, anything like that. And if you're pulling money from the drawer to do that, payout's going to be a great option. It lets you go ahead and record, comments, reasons, and it does create a high security receipt when we do that. Pay in, alternatively, is when we go ahead and put that maybe that change back from the payout, or if people dropped off the money for the owners, and we want to make sure that it's accounted for, and we don't want to go ahead and take responsibility for that. I'm going to pay in and let people know what's going on. Our miscellaneous drawer open is going to be exactly that. It's a pop drawer option. If we need to make change or someone needs to go ahead and grab a snack from the vending machine, we can give them a few quarters. The reason why these guys are grayed out here is because we didn't set up reasons for these particular ones in our system preferences. And that's okay. You do not have to use all disbursement types in order to go ahead and use one. You would just need to go ahead and set up those reasons in system preferences. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. So you can see actually we have cash drop over here on the side as well. Disbursements is that first layer, and we'll bring up all of the options, but alternatively we do have the option of getting those buttons on the receipt or on the screen by themselves to kind of bypass this if we're only going to use one or two of them. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and set up that cash drop. So this will tell you the amount in the register as well. So I've actually also seen people use this just to check how much is in the register. Let's just say we have $163. I'm going to drop 60 of that. All right, and so we can go and select a reason code. Right now we only have the one defined in system preferences, so it's defaulting to that one. And for the notes, here you can go ahead and enter why this is happening, or perhaps use a secondary associate name. Most places require two people to be present if you're handling any cash or removing cash from the drawer. So here we can enter that second person's name. So we can say Liz and this admin. We're going to go ahead and hit OK on that. All right. Perfect. And we can see here it's trying to go ahead and print that receipt for us. It does create that high security receipt, and we can print this out and actually put that in the drawer as well. There is that cash drop security type here. All right, and so again, the paid in is going to be extremely similar. All we have to go ahead and do is enter the amount, and we can leave a note. The note is not required actually, and we can just run it like that. Hit cancel. We're going to jump out. And we are going to go ahead and jump into our system preferences. And that setting is going to be under our local preferences, point of sale, receipts, and our disbursement options. So we can see here under paid in, we have that test. Under payout, we don't have anything, so that one was grayed out. Cash drop, we have cash. And to add a new reason, all you have to do is highlight on an existing reason and hit that down arrow, and it'll open up that new line. That's going to be the same for you know, most places over here in our system preferences. If you hit the very end there, try arrowing down, and it usually gives you another line to work with. Other than that, we can go ahead and enter reasons and update it, or we can just cancel out and we will roll back. We didn't make any changes, so yeah, feel free to roll back our changes. All right, and so that is everything that was on our agenda for today. If you have any questions, I can go ahead and open it up for people. I don't see that anybody has asked any questions or raised their hands just yet. Oh, actually, sorry about that. It looks like we did have a question and I missed it. I apologize. All right, so it looks like we had someone ask a question that we had a sale last month, but it doesn't show up in our Z out. We've done a manual pool. What else can we do? All right, let's see who asked that question. Actually, I don't think that person is with us. All right, so I apologize. If you are still with us, please go ahead and type me one more time. It looks like the asker is blank right now, so we can go ahead and unmute you and talk a little bit more about what's going on. But other than that, if anybody else has a question, we can go ahead and get those answered now. All right, I'm not seeing a response to that last month missing sale, so I apologize if you went ahead and look, we have another. All right, so it looks like Nancy was asking questions in regards to department totals. Just a second. Hi, Nancy, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on?
Yeah, so our X and Z outs, the department total, you know, the breakout with each, you know, just by department, that is on the top of your example on your X and Z outs. It is at the bottom of ours. And so I was wondering if and where that can be changed, because I use that a lot and sometimes I'm next paging or scrolling through PDFs for many pages.
Yeah, so that's actually a doc design. So that's pretty simple. We can go ahead and drop that in for you. You might be using an older doc design. So let me see. I can actually give you my email address, and if you go ahead and I would suggest don't give me your number right now. But you go ahead and email me at LizM, LIZM, at bighairydog.com. That is something real quick that we can go ahead and drop in for you. If you like the design that you saw on the screen, we'll drop that in, and then under workstation preferences is where we decide what's going to get printed. One thing, you might actually want to check your workstation preferences. You might have multiple designs, and it might just be you know, printing that one specific design. But
okay, I'll check that first. Yeah.
Yeah, printing. That's going to be our XZ out here. And then you can see this one is my Big Hairy Dog XZ out 38. And normally, whenever we're setting up Retail Pro for people, there is a folder called Install in the root of wherever your Retail Pro 9 is, and that comes from us. So if you jump in there and go to the Doc Design folder within that Install folder, you'll go ahead and we always put our backup Big Hairy Dog designs there.
Okay.
Yeah, but and if you don't have that, if you don't see that right away, or even if it's not exactly the layout that you saw today, go ahead and email me, and we can go ahead and carve out some time to just drop that in, because that's a quick fix.
Okay, yeah, like I said, literally just moving it from the very bottom of the reports to the top. That's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much. All right, and then so I went and got that one. Is there any other question? Okay, so it looks like there was a question, and unfortunately the answer or the asker might have jumped out for a moment. Just in case they came back, I wanted to go ahead and address it. So if we sell an item for a sale price and the customer is returning said item but doesn't have the receipt, how can we tell that that is sold at the sale price? All right, so let me go ahead and do that roll back. All right. So unfortunately, that is one of the big issues, you know, in retail when you're wanting to go ahead and do a return without that original receipt. One thing I would say, if we know the customer, if we know who the customer is, then in V9 we can actually go to their customer record, and we can go ahead and see their history. So if we jump into our customer management, customers, and let's just say Tony, we can go ahead and use this history button. As soon as this opens up. All right, so unfortunately this particular customer, oh, open that up. All right, so that particular customer didn't have history with them, so you can try to find somebody who has a little bit of history, but using that history button, you're gonna have access to all of the receipts that they've been listed on. If that customer was not listed on that original receipt, then we could go the route of trying to search for a given time period. Oh, perfect, Craig. So here we can see Craig, and we can see all of the receipts that he has that he's purchased, or every item that he's purchased. So on the top here, we can see the receipt number, and on the bottom it shows you all the items that were listed on that particular receipt. So you see these have been one-offs, and we have a few. And there we go. We have a multi-item receipt right down here. All right, and I'll go ahead and, sorry about that. All right. And one more thing that we can go ahead and take a look at. We come over here, back out. We can also go ahead and check out our item history. That history button is extremely valuable, and it exists in a few different places. Like I said, on our item level, you can actually see every time that particular item was sold or put on a memo, really anything. So let's just say we pick this guy here, and we hit that history button. Give it a second. One more time. This date range, Retail Pro out of the box, it's always going to default to month to date. So if you feel like you're not seeing everything, again, start checking that that date range. Let's go ahead and see here. All right. Let's go ahead and grab another item. All right, so we can go ahead and see this particular item every time, again, that it was listed on a receipt. So if they did have other information, like if they, like this one, for example, would be a great one. If they purchased a large amount of items and can list a few of the items on here, we have a better way of kind of tracking that this is in fact the receipt. But we would have to go ahead and refer to that receipt in order to go ahead and get that original receipt price. And I think, you see, this question was asked by Alyssa. Let me see if I can go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so sorry about that. You were all the way at I think you were the first person in, so you're all the way at the top, and I didn't see you. But yeah, did you have any additional information in regards to the question, or was that a specific customer that it happened to?
Not really any specific customer, but rather, like we just had some sales on some sunglasses and then they were 30% off. Well, in our store, we don't capture customer information unless they purchase a firearm in our store. And so it's harder for us to look for that receipt. However,
we can do a receipt lookup if they know, if they have any idea when they bought it, the amount. Otherwise, it's impossible to find it. But there's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing if that item was given for 30% off if they don't have their receipt. But we're going to give them a store credit if they're bringing it back. Then, if somebody doesn't know it's 30% off, then they're going to get a credit for the full price. Correct? If we don't have a way to find it.
Yeah, in order for that original receipt price to be pulled, then we would need that receipt number. And yeah, so the next step, if somebody came in and didn't have that, it would be trying to figure out when they purchased it, and more helpful if they purchased it with any other items. And we can come in here to this item history, and so if they know they purchased it on the 19th. We only have one receipt for the 19th where this item was sold on it. So that is probably going to go ahead and be that receipt. But unfortunately, if we have 15 of them and only 2 of them had the discount, then at that point we would have to go ahead and maybe pull a manager in to decide whether or not we were going to return it at the sale price or at the regular price of the other receipts.
Yeah, correct. Okay, there's just that's kind of what we've been doing, what you're showing us now. I just didn't know if there was any other way around it, anything easier. Yeah, okay.
So sorry about that, but you guys are doing what you should be doing. You're following the proper workflow, and yeah, if you don't have the customer information to go ahead and refer to, then that next step would be utilizing those filters and our item history, because we don't have the customer history.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for the question. All right, let's go ahead and see if anybody else got a chance to ask us a quick question. All right. Not seeing any other questions as of right now. Oh, actually, and it looks like Antonio might still be with us. So give me just a moment. Antonio, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, so sorry about that. So kind of similar. You guys were one of the very first ones to ask a question, so it got pushed up a little bit. But it looks like you had an issue with an XZ out.
Correct. We had a sale. It came through our debit card, so we know there was a sale, but we don't get to see the information in our Z out.
Got it. And you can actually the receipt exists within RPro, but it's just not showing up on your Z out.
No, it doesn't exist on RPro. It's coming out through our debit card, through Cayenne.
Oh, okay. So you guys are integrated with Cayenne?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's a way we could still see that sale.
Yeah, well, actually, I think I've seen people have this issue before. Unfortunately, they did have to go ahead and jump on the board for a technician to dial in. We did have to go ahead and jump through their Cayenne portal and kind of get a little bit more information on what was going on and the customer. Uh, in that particular instance, what ended up happening was that it was a split tender, and they were looking for the wrong customer. It ended up listing it kind of weird. So this might be something similar, but in that case, I would say one of our technicians can go ahead and dial in and really figure out what's going on with that particular transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we can go ahead and I can get you on the board. You can go ahead and email into tech@BigHairyDog if you like, or just give us a call at the 916-368-1070. And our lovely receptionist will get you on the board for today for callback.
Got it.
All right, awesome. And so again, I'm sorry, Antonio, that I don't have the exact answer for you at the moment, but it is at least something that I've seen happen once before. So we're hoping that we can go ahead and help you out and figure it out. But we might need to go ahead and shake Cayenne's hand for that and figure it out for you.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna go ahead, take a look here. So far, so I think we've addressed all of the questions so far. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to go ahead and let us know and type that in the questions box. And other than that, we've reached the end of what I had scheduled for our webinar. Give a few more minutes. If anybody wants to go ahead and ask any additional questions, please don't be shy. If you really don't want to be unmuted, I can just read your question aloud and do my best. All right, one more time, I'm going to go ahead and place our agenda here on the screen. So we did get a chance to go through receipts, did a few tenders, we added a customer, we know how to go ahead and add customers to our receipts, and that we're able to add customers on the fly directly in our point of sale. Some basic troubleshooting, and of course, always checking that date range, the disbursements we went through, and remember that you can't go ahead and use those disbursements unless we have reasons set up within our system preferences. And X out is going to be something that you can go ahead and run at any time, and it should, any time that you want to just check on how sales are going, how your stores are doing, or even particular departments are doing, you can run those X out reports. And then the out report is that closing drawer report, end of day report. And we can have access to our former outs anytime we want, but in order to actually run that out, we would need to be closing the drawer. Again, those statistics are going to be available via those flash sales. So it's a quick bird's eye glance of how everything is going, and those can be even broken out into hourly sales. But I'll be available if anybody has any additional questions. All right. And so if there aren't any questions, then I can go ahead and let you guys go. I did want to let you guys know that everyone is going to be receiving a recording of this webinar. So if you wanted to go ahead and just double check on how to do something, or you want a little bit more information, you'll be able to go ahead and review that at any time. All right. For the few of you that are still in, I appreciate you guys hanging around. I will be ending the webinar now. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.